curriculum supervisor here in the Medford Township School District. Every year, we invite our 5th grade students across our 5 elementary schools to learn about military veterans, and then write essays honoring all who served. This year, we also invited our 5th through 8th grade students to share stories about veterans in their lives. We are very proud here in Medford of our partnership with the local VFW and now the Armed Forces Heritage Museum in our partnership to educate our students while giving them an opportunity to connect to military veterans. Through their stories, our students convey their patriotism and appreciation for all those who serve our country.
Well, welcome to the Armed Forces Heritage Museum project. You all are people who submitted essays, and I read over your essays and I'm very impressed. So I'd like to just extend our gratitude and talk to you a little bit about Veterans Day and things like that. I want to welcome from Allen School, Jade Fleckenstein, from Cherville School, Jake Werty, from Cranberry Pines, Juliana Colella, Baron Shosted from Haynes School, and Catherine McGlynn from Memorial. Thanks for coming. First question, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day, what do they mean to you guys?
It's wrong to celebrate veterans that are still serving on Memorial Day.
Good.
And veterans that are not serving any longer on Armed Forces Day.
Mm-hmm.
Not only should those days we celebrate and honor our veterans and the designated days do what they're actually meant for, but every single day we should at least know that what they're doing for us.
Mm-hmm. Awareness, good. Now, just for Veterans Day means, what's the purpose of Veterans Day?
To celebrate those who have served.
Okay, those who have served. And what's the purpose of Armed Forces Day?
To celebrate people that are still serving and to honor them.
Mm-hmm. And Memorial Day?
Memorial Day celebrates the people that have died in the wars.
Good, good, we got that covered. And when these holidays come around, Veterans Day and Memorial Day, you're kind of elevated a little bit because you had a grandpapa that served. Do you want to talk about that?
I mean, I feel so honored to be able to know someone who fought for our country and risked their lives for us to do to represent.
Preserve the freedom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You go into a mall or you go into a store and you see someone who's dressed in their camos, or you see someone that says Vietnam veteran. What do you think we should do?
We do have holidays, but we don't really get to go up to actual veterans and say, thank you for your service. And so when you see someone in the mall, you have a chance.
Very good. Good job.
If I saw a veteran in the mall, I would probably think wow, that's just so cool. And I would probably go up and shake their hand and say thank you for all you've done, and probably ask them where they're stationed. And
That's good. That's really good.
Back up what she said, it's the least we can do because they've sacrificed their lives by going into war, and the least we can do is just say thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that it's good, and since you've already written the essays, you guys are kind of a step ahead of some of the other people, so I think it's great that you would recognize them. And it makes them feel good. It doesn't take a whole lot to make someone feel good, does it?
No, not at all.
No, not at all. What are some things that you as a family might do when it comes to one of those holidays?
Since my dad's in the United States Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
we go to Chicago and we celebrate with her family and celebrate him and celebrate people who have died in the war.
Anybody else?
Well, on Veterans Day, my grandfather's a veteran, and so he lives in in a different state. So we FaceTime him, and we talk to him, and sometimes we ask questions, and he always answers, and it's nice.
Good. Anybody else on that one?
Well, my family goes down to the shore and they have this big ceremony that goes on, and they just thank everyone, and my cousin, he's a veteran, and he does this like speech, and it's really nice.
Do you like the parades and all that you see?
Yeah, they're really nice.
When they walk by and they walk by in line, does it make you feel like really proud?
Yeah.
What are some things that you think that that your school does to your school recognizes Veterans Day or anything like that?
I was in the class with 2 twins, and their father is in the military. So we Skyped him and asked him like these questions. I thought it was just really cool because I'm pretty sure he was at his station. Well, I remember, I think like in kindergarten, it was a Veterans Day, and it was the day we were having our field trip, and we went to the like Air Force kind of place. And we got to go into like a plane.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Maybe later on down the line you'll visit places like Gettysburg or Antietam and places like that and know that people actually fought here, and that really is special. Have you all, any of you, read anything or seen any movies or any TV series or anything? Yes.
So my social studies teacher, Mr. Martin, he's teaching us some stuff about the Civil War. So we watched this documentary. It was called The Causes of the Civil War, and it told us like all about why people started to fight with the Civil War, and how slaves were treated and stuff. And I always wanted to learn like a lot about the Civil War, and it was just so much more like interesting than I expected it, but it was also so much more sad than I expected to.
Oh yeah, sure. And they call that the Brothers' War. Anybody else on that one?
I read a documentary on World War II.
And
when
how'd you
I
feel?
read it,
Go ahead.
it almost made me feel like I had a new understanding of what the veterans actually did during that time. Like I know on D-Day, we invaded France and tried to drive the Germans out, and I'm pretty sure we succeeded. There wasn't much of that in the book. But it almost just gives you a new understanding of what the veterans actually did. Like, because you just say, well, the veterans served, but what does that actually mean, like when they served?
As we end up, you're all entered the essays. Your essays were beautiful, so we really thank you. Are there any comments you would like to end with on Veterans Day or Memorial Day? Go ahead.
Well, it's really an honor to be able to say, like, that you know someone that has served or is serving. And that comes with a huge price that some people don't understand.
Good. Very good. Yes. Juliana.
Well, I said this in my last essay. I think that we shouldn't just celebrate once a year, and that we should celebrate every day because the veterans fight for us every single day.
All right, Jake.
No matter how much like we celebrate on Veterans Day or Memorial Day, there's no way that we can repay them for everything that they've done.
So we recognize on special days, but they should never be out of our hearts and minds on the other days of the year as well. It's hard to pay back that debt. Jade?
And like if you know someone who's a veteran and they tell you their story, it kind of teaches you a more deeper thing of being thankful.
Mm-hmm.
They do everything they can for our country just so we can go somewhere and not have to feel the danger around us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's no, like what they said, there's no way to thank them for what they've done.
Well, I'm going to end this and say the very fact that you did such excellent essays, and I'm going to compliment you all and say that you guys are already ahead of the game. You understand the sacrifice and you've wrote about it, and I think that you have a deeper understanding. And I ask you from the future to be a leader. Remember I was telling you about the path and the trail? So when you see a veteran, I don't care if the other 5 people you're with don't recognize them, you walk over and thank them. Okay, do things like that because that's something that they deserve. And you've all expressed that desire to be appreciative. So on behalf of the Armed Forces Heritage Museum Project, I'd like to thank you guys And thanks for coming. You did really great. All right, we ready? We now have Jade Fleckenstein from Allen School. I was very impressed with your essay because really your love for your grandfather came through. Your grandfather, Tony Joseph Capagna. You want to talk a little bit about him?
Well, he is a very big part of my life because every time we go visit him, we have so much fun, and sometimes we'll ask questions a lot, and he always answers, and he's not really afraid to share, and that kind of makes me feel like we have an even more deeper connection, and it's just really great to have a grandfather who likes to be open about his past and share things with me.
Very well put. He served in both Korea and Vietnam?
Yes.
And what was he in? What was his job? Do you remember?
He was a mechanic. He kind of worked on all the vehicles and made sure they were all, safe to use and okay to use.
What are some of the cool things you do with him? I knew you see like movie nights and popcorn.
Yeah, we have movie nights whenever I go there, at least one, and we always pick a movie and we make a bunch of popcorn. And this one time I had like a little bit, and then I went to grab more, and it's like all gone. My grandfather is a veteran. Knowing he served in the Army changed my perspective on him. It also taught me a valuable lesson. And lastly, how much fun me and my grandfather have. My grandfather, Poppy, Tony Joseph Campagna, was in the Korean and Vietnam Wars from 1970 to 1971, and he was a mechanic. Hearing he was a veteran totally changed the way I looked at him. I thought of him as a guy who liked to work on cars, which is partially true. Now I see you as a brave man who protected the United States of America. Seeing the number of people that died during this time was very powerful. My grandfather taught me to be thankful. This kind of changed the way I look at all the new stuff out in the stores and helped me not want everything in sight. Also, I am very thankful that my grandfather is still alive, because some people did lose people that were close to them. I don't know what I would do without him.
Do you think now, because you know your grandfather served in Korea and Vietnam, are you inspired now to learn more about those conflicts?
Yes. Because I really want to understand a lot more about what really happened during those times.
Right. And that's good. And I can see in your eyes the love for your grandfather. And I got to tell you, as being a grandfather myself, it really makes me feel really pretty cool. So if anything stands out more in that interview, it's that. So as you think of your grandfather, when you think of him as a veteran and you would like to say something to him now that's going to be on the air, what would you say to Grandpa?
I would say thank you for being there for me and just being a loving grandfather and being open to share your stories and teach me to be more selfless.
That's a beautiful thing to say. And that's a beautiful thing to say. All right, in a minute, I'd like to welcome Erin Shosted. And the title of her essay was My Favorite, My Veteran, My Hero. And it's about her father, Lieutenant Colonel Travis Shosted. Tell us about your dad.
My dad has been serving in the U.S. Air Force for 20 years now. He's getting ready to retire this August.
No, he served in Afghanistan, is that correct?
He served in Afghanistan as well as Iraq.
And what did he do over there, do you know?
He was dropping cargo.
So he flew?
He flew. He flies the C-130.
Have you ever seen a C-130?
Yeah, I've been.
Isn't it huge?
It's gigantic.
And how hard was it for you and your family when he was?
I think it was the hardest on my mom, because my sister and I were. The last time he was away, my sister was 9 and I was 7, and he was in Afghanistan for 6.5 months.
So really, what a long time. especially when you're young like that. I mean, such a big blockhead. And that's what I picked up from your interview, is that you appreciated not only your father's sacrifice, but your mother's as well. And I think that was pretty mature of you to pick that up.
Well, because my sister and I would not be able to make it through those 6 months without my mom. When he went away last time, I made him a calendar to count down the days until
Oh, how cool is that?
he was with me. Calendar was pretty big as well, because we had to calculate the days that he'd be away.
Do people come up to him and say thank you for your service?
All the time. This is called My Veteran, My Hero. We all have someone who's touched our hearts. For some people, it's someone known to all the world. And for others, it's someone who may not be known to many people at all. To a lot of people, veterans are these heroes. Veterans can be bold, brave, and courageous, but it all comes back to what the uniform stands for and what they represent while they're behind the uniform, and that's freedom. My hero is my dad. He's been serving in the U.S. Air Force for 20 years, and the road's been rough, but all worth the while. Some people think that a veteran is someone who's no longer with us, but just in spirit. And they should know that there are many veterans out there still serving or previously served. My dad's really touched my heart because he's pushed through boundaries for himself. And I'm proud because he doesn't serve for specific people, but for the idea of freedom itself. One thing I'd like to take a moment to realize is people who are veterans are proud to serve, but it's also the events that go on at home too. While my dad was deployed in Afghanistan, he missed birthdays and holidays such as Easter and Thanksgiving. These are holidays we typically enjoy celebrating together as a family, but he was fighting for freedom instead. My dad is very important to my life. While he was away, I was more proud than I'd ever been before. I was very young at this time, yet I can remember the times he came home clear as day. And this is the best part of having someone in your family as part of the military, watching them come home. Another reason that I'm proud to have my dad as a veteran is that many people say the words, "Thank you for your service." These words mean a lot to my family because having my dad in the military is not very easy. But as I was saying, it is definitely worth it. My dad is not sent overseas very often, and we're very lucky for that. Because there are people who are sent away in the other branches in the military much more often than my dad. This is also because part of it involves doing your share, and my dad has done 20 years of his share, and he is very proud of his work. So am I. My dad has had a very interesting career, but also feels a responsibility to be with his family. He and I have had a lot of interesting memories. Times we've both been scared, sad, happy, confused, but we've been through it all together. There's not been a day that passes by that I've not felt how strong his love is for me, whether he was away or here. The same applies to my sister Lauren and my mom. While all this is true, he still feels the responsibility of work and his fellow soldiers. The ability that he has to balance his work, home, and social life is a very admirable trait. One last reason I'm proud to call my dad a veteran is because he followed his dreams despite what people thought of him. And now he inspires other people to follow their dreams. One person he has inspired is me. There have been several times I've doubted myself and not wanted to push forward, but he told me to keep trying and keep doing it because he knew I could do it and he believed in me, which helped me to believe in myself as well. To conclude, whether or not your hero is a veteran or not, just think about the sacrifices soldiers make, and think of all you have, and how all of that freedom may not have existed if it weren't for our soldiers. So next time you see a veteran in the streets, or walking into a building, just say a simple thank you, because trust me, it can mean a lot to a soldier after all they do for us.
That was one tremendous essay, and I can see your respect as well as your love for your father. Now we've got a surprise for you, believe it or not.
Hey, sweetie.
Well, welcome to our program, Lieutenant Colonel Travis Shostat, and we're very, very happy to have worked with your daughter, but we're very honored to know you, sir.
It's privileged to be here. Thank you for asking me.
What did you think of your daughter's essay? Brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah, it's humbling to hear what your kids think of you and how they view you as a parent, and then what she sees and what she's learned over the years of my being in the military. So I'm proud of my daughter, to say the least.
Well, she reflected so much through that essay, and I know I would say missing these events must have been hard for you. Be deployed 13,000 miles away, and to have someone's birthday happen. But I mean, if there's anything to be said, your daughter totally understands the sacrifice that people like you have done for our country, and for that, we're honored to have had her and you on our program, sir.
Well, thank you very much. It's a privilege, like I said. The sacrifices that they make, the things that they don't know they're giving up because it's their normal, it's their life. The opportunity that we've had to meet other people around the country, and for the kids to meet other kids from military families, how closely and how quickly and resilient young kids are and adaptable to that way of life. It's been a great opportunity. It's something that I think has made them a more well-rounded person. I think will serve her well in life. She's taken to that, and I'm extremely proud of my daughter for so many things, but just for her honesty and her resilience and her willingness to start over every time.
Welcome, Jake Wearty, and Jake's from Cherville School, and the title of his essay is My Dad. And I know your dad went to the Naval Academy. I hear you want to go to the Naval Academy too. Is that correct? Isn't that kind of unusual for a guy your age to be that dedicated?
I guess, but because my dad went to the Naval Academy, it almost seems like he painted a picture that I'm trying to finish. Like, he told me all about when he was there, and he's almost made me want to. Like, he hasn't been you need to go to the Naval Academy, but what he's said about it has just made me very anxious to want to do that.
Now, you're the youngest of four, is that correct? Now, you're the only one of the four that wants to go to the Naval Academy. Now, explain that to me.
It's almost having my dad go to the Naval Academy and be able to tell me all about that has made me want to follow in his footsteps and do what he did.
Now, most of the time your dad was in the service, he trained other pilots, is that right?
Yeah, he in Pensacola, Florida, which was named the official place where every single naval pilot is trained. There is no other place that naval pilots are trained. This is made me very proud of him because he's teaching pilots what they could possibly do. Right now, as we're fighting against terrorism, for all I know, there could be some pilot that he trained back when he was in the Navy who right now could possibly be flying.
That's a cool way to look at it. What are some planes that your father did fly? Do you remember?
I know he flew the, during Operation Desert Storm, he flew the E-6A, which was it wasn't actually used during the war because it is a communications aircraft. So basically what it does is it sends messages through plane to plane, and eventually it gets to where troops are, and then whatever the troops want to say, they can send it back. But my dad, he and his squadron weren't needed during the war, so he never got deployed. He's been to a lot of places, he's been to Tokyo and Australia and all places all around the world about what he's done.
Have you traveled much yourself?
I've only ever been to Canada.
In Canada? Well, that's close enough. You got a lot of time ahead of you. How is your father's service time, him being in the service and you being the son of a person who was, in his career Air Force? How's that affected?
That I'm proud of him for what he did and how he contributed to the Navy and just America in general.
Now, having a father who is a veteran, how's that affected your perspective on other veterans?
It makes me know actually what their sacrifices were, because it gives me a sense of actually what they go through by saying that they're a veteran.
Okay. Jake, would you like to read your essay, My Dad Now?
Sure. Thinking about what our veterans do is amazing. Thinking of what they have risked, sacrificed, and done for us makes me proud. It's even greater to think about veterans that you know. It can be your neighbor, your grandfather, or even your own dad. In my case, it's my dad. My dad started out by graduating from the Naval Academy in 1988. Not long after he was stationed in Hawaii, he was trained to be a pilot and flew jets. Afterwards, he was stationed in Pensacola, Florida, where he trained other pilots to fly. He did many other things during his career in the armed forces, and he eventually joined the Air Force. When I heard that my dad had trained other pilots to fly, I was more than impressed. My dad was teaching kids fresh out of college to do what could be something that they do for the rest of their lives. He was teaching pilots who could possibly fight in future wars. Thinking about that makes me appreciative for what he did in the Navy. During all of this, it was hard for my dad. He was away from his kids a lot, and even though they were just babies, he missed them a lot. It was also hard on my mother. She had 3 kids to take care of, and my dad was not home very often. This is what drove my dad to leave the armed forces. I'm very proud of him for what he contributed, and I'm happy I get to see him quite often. At the moment, my dad flies the Boeing 767 or the Boeing 757, and sometimes even the Boeing 747. He flies for Federal Express. My dad's service has made me proud of him. He helped train pilots. He flew refueling planes in the Air Force. He was in the Ironman Squadron in the Navy flying communication aircraft. Even after all he did, I am still glad that he left the armed forces, because I get to see him so much more than I would have had he stayed in. He also gets to help me with so many things in my life. My dad, in my eyes, is a great person. I am honored to call him my dad. If you have a neighbor, cousin, or grandfather, or anyone you know who is a veteran, let them know that you care. It could possibly make their day. These people are the reason America is America. Even though my dad was a small part in a big picture, everyone can make a difference to make a big change. Thanks, Dad, for being a part in the armed forces. I'm very proud of you for serving in the Navy, and I know that the name Kevin Joseph Wardy will always be one that I know.
Welcome, Catherine McGlynn from Memorial, and you are a 7th grader, correct?
Yes.
I was very impressed with your interview and the fact that you really caught the hero part, and if not for a better word, the true soldier in your cousin Joe. And I'd like you to talk about a little bit your interview with him.
Okay. Well, when my cousin Joey, he was 17 when 9/11 happened, and after it happened, he realized he needed to do something for his country. So when he was 18, after his 18th birthday, he enlisted into the Army.
How about, you're what, 13 now?
13.
So
almost 14. My birthday is next month.
So he was only 4 years older than you
Yeah.
now. How's that make you feel when you're interviewing him?
Well, it's like I'm in awe, because like I can't imagine myself risking my life and not seeing my family every single day, to go out into war, into like this dangerous situation, and I honor him because he did that.
Yeah, and it sounded like he was really in the thick of it too over there.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of the things that you wrote about it must have been difficult. When you did the interview, was it easy for him to talk about these things? Did he struggle?
Yeah, he did. My mom told me that a few summers ago, Joey was talking about how like he still has like nightmares from when he was in the Army, because everything was just so like bad and upsetting.
I've done a lot of interviews, and I've interviewed men in their 80s, and they were like 60 years detached from the war, and they still had nightmares. So it's kind of common. We tried to define heroes. How is he a hero to you?
Absolutely.
And why would you say, to someone who never met your cousin, was going to meet him for the first time, why was he a hero?
He's brave. He's selfless. He's inspiring. He's got a lot of courage. He sacrifices himself and is just an amazing person.
How has your relationship with your cousin changed you or made you appreciate, or how's it affected you?
It makes me want to like do more, like after I realize what he's done, it wants me like to do more, like help our country and stuff.
Yeah. So for the people and listening audience, I would like you now, if it's possible, to read that essay that you wrote about your cousin. Catherine McGlynn from Memorial Schools. She's now going to read her essay, A Veteran Who Is Very Special to Me.
Mr. Panarella, my cousin's name is Joseph McGlynn.
Good.
Brave, remarkable, courageous. That's what a hero is. Many of your heroes are probably athletes, actors, scientists, inventors, but not mine. In your eyes, my hero might just be an average person, but to me, he is way more than that. He is strong and a selfless person who saved many lives, made sacrifices for our country, and spent many nights listening to bombs go off, wondering if he would ever live to see his family again. This person is my cousin, Joey, my hero. Joey was only 17 years old when the United States was attacked on September 11, 2001. It was because of these tragic events that he decided to enlist into the Army after his 18th birthday. He was willing to sacrifice his safety and well-being to fight for his family, friends, and other Americans across the country. If you think about it, my cousin was only a few years older than I am right now. Before he enlisted, he was just a young boy who went to school, played sports, hung out with friends, just like I do now. But the difference between me and Joey is that I don't think I could ever give up the comforts of home, including family meals, vacations, my sports games, and most of all, seeing my friends and family every day. At such a young age, Joey was put into battle, rifle in hand. Every day, Joey was in a life or death situation. One day, Joey was riding in a military vehicle as part of a convoy when it was attacked by the enemy. A vehicle in front of the convoy erupted in flames after hitting a roadside bomb. Joey risked his life to rescue a fellow soldier trapped in the vehicle, disabled by a bomb. Joey was wounded helping the other soldier, but knowing Joey, he would not have it any other way. His courageous act that day is what led him to being awarded the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart. I look up to Joey and all veterans because of the sacrifices that they have made to defend the freedoms that we all take for granted. Veterans put their lives on the line for our country. A soldier goes off into war not knowing if he or she is going to go back to home. They miss out on important events that they would have loved to attend, like their child's birth, their daughter's dance recitals, or son's soccer games. Veterans, like Joey, are very special people, and I, for one, appreciate all the sacrifices that they have made.
Catherine, that was a tremendous essay,
Thank you.
and it was an honor to have you. And it was it showed us a lot of appreciation about your cousin, and I just can't say enough about how well you did with that essay. Thank you.
So much.
I'd now like to welcome Juliana Colella. She's from Cranberry Pine School. And the title of her essay was My Special Veteran, and it's about her grandpa, Jim Fishburne. You want to talk about him in your essay?
Well, my grandpa served in the Air Force for 4 years, and he always told me the Air Force was like a second family. So when I was interviewing him, and I asked him if he ever missed his wife or his daughter, he always told me that yes, he did, but he wasn't he didn't feel lonely because he had all his friends.
Mm-hmm. So you had one daughter, your aunt was born on the base, and your mom was born after he was out of the service, or?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us a little bit about his experiences in the military.
Well, he went to the military because he didn't have enough money for college, and he got and he thought he was going to be good in the Air Force. So he went into the Air Force and was first a medic, and then he started watching everyone in the lab, and soon was transferred into the lab.
Did you ever see any pictures of him in uniform?
Yes, actually, when he won Airman of the Year, there was an article about that. I actually had a picture.
How'd you feel looking at that picture?
I was kind of surprised. Well, that's my grandpa, and he was Aaron.
Do you spend a lot of time with him? Does he live near you?
Actually, he lives in Florida, so I don't really get to see him a lot.
Well, I enjoyed your essay, and I'm sure the people who hear it when you read it. And I can see the love you have and the respect you have for your grandpa. Now, it's my honor to hear Juliana Colella read My Special Veteran.
Veterans are people that served or are serving now for our country. They help us in many ways and risk their lives for us. Do you know a veteran? I sure do. His name is Jim Fishburne, and he is my grandpa. My grandpa served in the Air Force from 1961 to 1965. When he first decided to join, he was flown from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to San Antonio, Texas. There he did basic training. Back then, the veterans had to get their own food. This was called KP, or Kitchen Police. From there, he went to Montgomery, Alabama to do medic training. Lastly, he went to Sumter, South Carolina. Then he went back to Texas to see the Alamo. Guess what? When he went to the Alamo, he said it wasn't anything like the movies. When my grandpa joined the Air Force, the Vietnam War was just beginning, but he didn't get called in for any active duty. He was a medic at the time, and he didn't really get to do much yet. My grandpa didn't get called in to go into any wars. He was medic at first, but then when he had the time off, he started to go to the lab and watch the people working there. He was taught a lot and one day transferred over to the lab. Then someone recommended him for the Sergeant of the Month. A couple of people selected, but he won. Next, he won Airman of the Month. There was an article written about him, and this is what it said. Shaw's 837th Tactical Hospital Award presented the plague by his commander, Maj. Joseph E. Keyes. The corpsman who worked for Wards No. 2, Pediatrics, was honored for his fine work in military bearing. Later that week, he was named Base Airman of the Month for September. My grandpa joined the military for a few reasons. The first one was because he scored so well in the draft, he thought maybe that he should join the military. Then he also thought that everyone should be in the military for at least a few years to better themselves in life. A lot of people thought the same thing during the 1960s. My grandpa had his first child on base. Her name was Sharon. Whenever my grandma left, he would miss both her and my Aunt Sharon very much. But he said that the military was like another family. He had friends there such as Jim, Green, and Caroselli. He also had a friend that now lives near my grandpa that told my grandpa that they were building a place called Disney over 50 years ago. As you can see above, my grandpa's time in the military was a very meaningful experience for him. It gave him experience that he was able to use to get a job. The awards he won made him feel confident and proud. Lastly, he met people that became a second family to him. My grandpa wasn't only the United States hero, he is also mine.
That was very good. Thank you.
Very good.
All right, I'd like to welcome Grace Kenderdine from Cranberry School. And you are going to talk about your grandpa. What was your grandpa's name?
Mark Lacavera.
And your grandfather has passed away. How old were you?
Yes, I was 5 years old when my grandpa passed away.
And there's something that's really valuable to you. What is that?
So when I was really little, one of the last times I was with him, we were in Disney World and he bought me this Pluto stuffed animal, and if I ever lost it, I'd be like really, really upset, because that's like one of like the best memories I have with my grandpa.
That's cool. That's really neat to have that. Now, did you ever see pictures of him when he was in uniform?
Yes, I did.
And what were you thinking?
I was thinking, wow, he looks like really young and like, different.
I guess we're always supposed to be old. We're never allowed to be young, right? When you're a grandpa. That's pretty cool. Did he tell you anything about which branch of the service he was in?
He was in the Army. And he told me that he really wanted to help our country because he just felt that he had to like fight for like his country because he loved his country. Really.
And it sounded like from the age that he would have been, or he was, he served in Vietnam. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Does your grandmom talk about him being in the service at all?
A little bit. She'll be like, oh, today's like Memorial Day. We have to go to Pop-Up's like his grave and like put flowers there and stuff like that to like remind of him.
Now, each year it passes, are you getting to understand the significance of that day a little bit more?
Yeah.
And how do you feel when you go there?
Feel like happy that I'm able to go there and like be with him, but I also feel upset because I'm like, it's more time that he's not been here.
I understand that, but the very fact that you're treasuring his memory makes him live a little bit longer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And where is he buried?
He's buried in Cherry Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of the cemetery, but it's in Cherry Hill.
And does it say United States Army on his?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And having a grandfather that served in the war and fought, how's that make you feel?
Makes me feel proud to know that my family was fighting for our country and risked their lives for us.
And you have other service members too that are relatives,
Yes, I have my uncle who is in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the reserves now, but he was in the Navy. And then I have my cousin who's also in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And he went in at 18.
Oh, where was he from?
He's from Collingswood.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And where is he now? Has he been deployed overseas or anything?
Yeah, he's been overseas.
Do you know where he was sent or anything?
No.
No. But at least he's serving. He's
Yeah.
protecting our country.
Yeah.
So we go around and we see a veteran in a store or in a mall or someplace like that, and he's dressed in his camos or he's got his hat on. It says Vietnam veteran. How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel happy to know that he's still here. And usually we stop and say like, thanks for your service and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be cool if your grandfather, had the appreciation for your grandfather was extended like that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very, very honored to have you here, and I would like you to read your essay, and I can see the love for your grandfather and in your eyes, and I think it's really commendable. And I'm glad you have that little memento of his that you can keep forever.
Thank you.
Okay. And now Grace Kenderdine from Cranberry Pine School is going to read her essay about her grandpa, Mark Lacavera.
My name is Grace Kenderdine, and I was honored when I was asked to participate in AFHM. In my short 11 years of life, I have met several veterans. I met neighbors, friends, and I even have an uncle and a cousin in the armed forces fighting for our country. I have heard their stories about how and why they joined the branches of service. There is one veteran who really stands out in my mind. That's my grandfather, who is no longer alive. Unlike others, I don't really know when or why he joined the Army so many years ago. I didn't get to hear his stories or learn about his branch of service that much. He didn't get any special medals or ribbons, but he did risk his life for our country. I only knew my Pop-Pop for 5 years, but he quickly became my favorite veteran.
Good. Very good. And you know what your grandpop's doing right now? He's smiling at you. Grace, is there anything you'd like to say to your grandfather?
I want to thank him for fighting for our country and risking his life for us. I love you, Grandpa.
My dad, in my eyes, is a great person. I'm honored.
My grandfather is a veteran.
There is one veteran who really stands out in my mind. That's my grandfather, who is no.
My grandpa served in the Air Force.
I look up to Joey and all veterans because of his
My hero is my dad.